Good evening, Wild Ones. It is Becca Breen here, and I'm stoked to be here. Thank you for joining us, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Becca.
Chris and I, 15 plus years now, which means that we are getting up there in our age. But I met Chris through Nick. You and him, along with a lot of great other guys, played ball in the rec league at CU and won a few championships. How many t-shirts did y'all get playing basketball? Do you know that still?
Nick's got more than me. I probably have like 8 or 9, I would say. Emil actually made him into like a bunch of quilts, I think, too, which is kind of cool. But mine are all at the thrift store by now.
At some point, that was probably one of the highest accolades. And now it's a place for you to store somewhere else. So nonetheless, you and Nick were good friends in college and have remained that. You're part of the group of 10 guys that love each other well. And us wives and girlfriends and partners have gotten to know each other through that over the last 15 years. So stoked to have you on here. For the listeners, one of the reasons I asked Chris, many reasons. 1, he's funny. 2, he's good to look at. And 3, like really, you're just a high quality human. As we talk about wellness, often for millennials, we are put in the sandwich generation where we're trying to find our loves or we're raising littles while then also taking care of aging parents and trying to own a house, which cheers to those that haven't been able to because it's so stinking expensive. And for those of us that haven't, it's a grind to get there. And so across the board, some of the weights that we hold as millennials, and then what does that look like in our 30s, choosing to live a healthier lifestyle than maybe we did in our 20s or that we did last week. And I'm thinking of 2 things right now. You're heavily involved in Special Olympics and have been. And then the other part, which I would love for you to share on, because those of us could definitely glean off of this, is you're going on a sabbatical in 2026. It's not like you work in the church system and yet you figured out how to do a sabbatical. What made you decide to do a sabbatical and how'd you make that play out working in the business field?
Yeah, by background, I work in corporate healthcare. I've been at the same company for over 11 years, held a few different roles and really love my job. But I've seen that a lot of my friends have had 10 plus different jobs at different companies throughout that time period. Oftentimes they're able to take time off in between jobs. And I was doing some reflection and just really haven't had a period of time of more than 2 weeks that I've taken off. And as I've grown in my career, I'm finding that the unlimited PTO is a little bit of a facade, and I've taken less and less as has become a reality for me. And I'm just really eager for a little bit of rest, relaxation, and then plan to do a lot of investing and in time to help build a business plan for a nonprofit in the intellectual disability space. And so really grateful for the time off that my organization has provided to me. And as I've thought about changing careers or changing companies too, I've always thought of that cliche of the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it most. I think my company's helping me to kind of water my grass here. And I've been very transparent that I want to take a leap in the intellectual disability space. And I don't know, the next 5 to 10 years, once I've been able to save up a little bit more money and really build out more of a plan so that I could go in all in on it. And I'm just really excited for the time and going to do some traveling and resting as well after 11 and a half long years of the corporate grind.
Yeah, I would say majority of us have hopped at least 2 jobs, if not 12. I tell Nick often, I'm grateful that he knows what he wants to do because I'm still trying to figure that out when I grow up. But
Aren't we
you
all?
know what you want to do, or you've at least committed to what you're doing for the last 11 and a half years. I think you're an anomaly of the millennial generation, but I don't actually know that. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think I am. I started at this company through a leadership development program with a cohort of other young recent graduates. Say on average, people stayed at the company for 2 to 3 years and then went on to new and different things. So I still have a picture on my desk of that cohort that I started with, and I've aged quite a bit more. And it's fun to still have those friendships and see what those individuals have gone on to do. But yeah, and I wouldn't say that like my life passion is working in corporate healthcare. I love the challenge of it. I've loved the team and the people that I've gotten to meet. I really enjoy the science aspect of it. And I love the fact that you get to help people in the healthcare space. And I think our healthcare system needs a lot of help these days. So it's something that's scratched a lot of itches of mine and something that I've been continually learning in, but it's also afforded me the opportunity to spend a substantive amount of time in the intellectual disability space. And my organization has supported my efforts there, both from a financial perspective, as well as a lot of time and different teammate volunteering opportunities. And then actually want to even start a internship program for people with disabilities at my organization coming back from my time off too. So have just felt really supported at my organization, and I'm really grateful for the time off to be able to explore kind of like what I think I was made for longer term than working a corporate desk job for the rest of my life.
It's not saying corporate desk job is the enemy, but rather does this fulfill me to who I am, and does it allow for me to live the life that I want to? And in some ways it does, right? As you've just shared those partnerships or those different supports. And then also like, hey, a piece of me still wants to see myself go fully into the intellectual disabilities world. And so let's get to that in a minute. I want to rewind and hear if you're willing to share one, what was the self-reflection like, and almost this metacognition or this self-reflection in I'm worthy of having rest, or I'm brave enough to ask for sabbatical. When did that start? What did that look like as a self journey?
Yeah, I wish I was more brave. It honestly came about through some honest conversations with my supervisor, kind of coming to terms saying I am a little bit burnt out. I'm realizing that my energy and my motivation and how optimistic I am about things is starting to wane a little bit. And she actually brought up the idea of taking some time off. I was afraid of bringing that up in the first place because I thought I would be discounted and opportunities would pass me up, whether that's a promotion or other roles. And so it was actually my supervisor who brought it up with me. We mutually kind of explored that. It's not something that my organization typically offers. And they were willing to kind of give me that time and negotiated the appropriate terms for it too. But yeah, I wish it was more of my own doing, but it came about just through some honest, transparent conversation about reflecting where I was at and realizing that, like, hey, when I started at this company, I was really bright eyed and bushy tailed and very positive, very energetic, very extroverted, and finding my energy kind of decreasing and maybe becoming a little bit more introverted and eating more meals at my desk instead of interacting with people. And just being kind of self aware within that space was something that allowed for that conversation to come up in the first place.
At least it's not eating meals in the bathroom stall or something like that. So
Yeah.
so she caught you before you
Yeah.
drifted that far. But
Yeah.
no, in all seriousness, cheers to the supervisor. And I'm gonna give you kudos too that you were honest enough in those reviews, because reviews are hard, or hard conversations are called that for a reason. And so for you to say, I'm in a vulnerable enough spot that I am not sure this is gonna work. Whether that means I hightail out of here, whether that means I stay and become less of myself and not as productive for the company, or also what does that look like, and you to come into a space of like, no, let's pursue, let's get creative, let's think outside the box, because that's the beauty of this conversation to me, is that you're like, hey, my life could have looked 10 different ways, and it could have, right? It's like choose your own adventure, and you've said this is the adventure I want to choose, and cheers to your supervisor for offering it as an option.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I know not everybody has that opportunity to be able to take 12 weeks off, and just really, really grateful for that and excited to kind of see what's to come too.
Well, and I wonder if I've invested in the company for X amount of time, they see my value, why not pursue that? I think sometimes in my own life, or for other people that I hear in the mental health field, we forget to ask because we're afraid either of rejection or being worth it. And then over the last X amount of months, you've said, let me navigate this. Let me think through it. Is this what I want? Is it not? Right? Like all those different things. And then negotiated back and saying, okay, this is where I come, and this is what I'm bringing to the table and what I'm asking for. So
Yeah.
cheers to you. How exciting. What you're going to do with your time, travel, figure out a few things. And then you said, build out a business plan for intellectual disabilities. I know and have had fun watching you coach various sports and being on the board for Special Olympics and the young adults. Can you share into your heart for the intellectual disability community and Special Olympics, or wherever you want to go with that?
Yeah, it's been a fun and really fulfilling part of my life for the past 10 years. I actually stumbled upon working at a summer camp after I graduated from college for people with disabilities. And it was honestly some of like the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Just a lot of lack of sleep, but a ton of laughter, a ton of joy and fulfillment too. I just think like one thing that like I wish society did more of is people with disabilities oftentimes get taught time and time again how to interact with the world around them. But I just really wish, I think this is actually a quote from somebody. I wish we spent more time teaching those without disabilities how to interact with those who do have disabilities and really defining people more on what they are capable of rather than their limitations. But I kind of stumbled upon working at a summer camp for people with disabilities, started full time work after that, did some various unfulfilling volunteer work at different organizations, not in the disability space, and was talking to a friend on the phone where I was just like, hey, I need to find something that allows me to spend more time and money investing in something bigger than myself and allows for that fulfillment in that too. And he was like, hey, you played sports your whole life and you loved working at summer camp. Have you ever thought about coaching for Special Olympics? No, I haven't. Ended up signing up to coach a basketball team and got paired with a team in Denver and have been with them playing basketball and softball, both as a unified partner and coach for the past 10 years. And have gotten the opportunity to lead our young professionals board for Special Olympics. Have the opportunity to be the chair or co-chair this year. And this is the first year that my fellow co-chair is an athlete for Special Olympics too. And she's just absolutely been crushing it and very, very engaged, very enthusiastic and doing some really cool work too. So it kind of came about by just having an opportunity and then finding that it really fulfilled me. And I was creating some really great relationships with people who are wonderful humans and have just really enjoyed it and found a huge need here too. And something that I often reference when I'm thinking about starting an organization is more in the employment space. And so people with disabilities are often underemployed substantively, about half or a third less than those without disabilities. And oftentimes the employment isn't gainful employment too. And they're not able to always find that independence that they're maybe capable of if they have the right resources put behind them too. So I think there's a real need and a real opportunity in kind of the employment space for people with disabilities. And I'm really looking forward to trying to figure out a plan that I can fill that need a little bit through some unique ideas and efforts too.
Having watched you grow alongside it and my background working in the school systems, I worked as a para, working with students who had various disabilities, physical and then also cognitive disabilities. One of the things that I didn't know, but one of my favorite quotes that I use that I learned through Special Olympics is, may we win, work to win. And if not, then let us be brave in the pursuit. That's a paraphrase of it. And I'm like, why isn't that on everyone's mirror every morning we wake up in life to say, may I be successful today? May I do the things I need to win, to be successful? And if not, if I don't win, okay, then let me be brave in that try. That is powerful. And so for you to say, I think we need to be taught more how to interact with people with intellectual disabilities rather than them figuring out how to work with those of us that are neurotypical, like how much more could we do for ourselves and for the community to be the ones to, to make some moves in 2025, right?
Yeah.
Let's not be archaic. And let me shout this out for anyone who's listening. Go support some sort of Special Olympics. It's all over the country. Go support an event and you will feel the most cherished human. The tunnels and the greetings and the hugs and the high fives. It brings me back to childhood where I'm like, yeah, we can do life together. Right?
Mhm.
Like, okay, I do matter today just for being me. And that's a cool thing that we all can learn in society and especially in a world that's really divided right now. It is our neurodivergent and those with cognitive disabilities that are leading the way for kindness and humanity and how to human well. And that's a huge thing for us on Wild and Well Together is how to human well. And so thank you for sharing that. And then as far as workplace, would you say most or what percentage do you think of those with disabilities are overqualified for the jobs that they are placed in?
I don't know percentages, but I think there's just a lot of opportunity in not creating roles that are just there because a company wants to hire somebody with a disability to either look good or support that individual, but truly finding a role for individuals that maximize what their skill sets are and truly being ability focused and figuring
Yeah.
out what each individual is really good at, supporting them through training and resources, and then making sure it's actual gainful employment too, so that they're able to support themselves, track towards independence if that's their goal, and really feel like they're making a difference in their work too. I think that's what we're all kind of after is being able to have impact in our work and feel like we're truly making a difference too. So there's a lot of great companies and organizations out there that are supporting, and even I think the stats as of the last year is disability employment is improving, and like the last couple of years have been probably the best years yet. So we're making some progress, but still a long ways to go.
Yeah, the right time for you to come in. I remember when you came to Brewability when it was in the tiniest little place that Tiffany had, but it was a start and now it's booming on Broadway. And so, cheers to even something like that. However, that's a company that's focused solely on hiring people with disabilities. So I want to acknowledge that. And also, how beautiful though will it be when, regardless of who the employer is, it's a competitive situation between me and someone that is neurodiverse and saying, saying like, okay, we go toe to toe and they, for their skills, beat me out of that job because they actually are a better fit for the company and not the check the box. I look forward to that day. I think that that's awesome. And probably one of those categories or one of the people that are the protected people groups that has not seen as much opportunity as other protected classes or peoples who have over the last 30, 40 years. So I'm excited for what you're creating. To hear more through the sabbatical or post sabbatical, we'll have you back on or whenever you launch it and be like, Chris, what is it? What did you decide? And give a shout out to the new company. But you said it'll be a nonprofit.
I think so. I'm leaning towards nonprofit, but still have a lot of thinking and planning to do. Gonna come up with probably a few different ideas and start to pitch them to folks. So be
Cool.
chatting with you and Nick and others too to um, just hear different ideas, and I think over time build it, and hopefully in the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years have the funding and the confidence to actually go and do it.
Love that. And is you
Yeah.
some where do you fall on that collaborative to independent scale?
No, definitely better together. I'll
Okay.
I'll try to come up with a few different ideas, but figure out how I can bounce those ideas off of people, and then I'll definitely need a lot of support, whether that's through ideating, whether that's through fundraising, or just getting the word out about what the opportunities are too. So definitely more collaborative in mindset too.
And how fun for you, like, that you have the opportunity I'm putting you on the spot here, but that you have the opportunity, like, your board, in theory, will have, half neurodiverse or intellectual disabilities and those that are neurotypical in the sense of how do we actually have people who are living the daily lives, really putting impact and purpose into it, as well as other people who are really passionate and allies within it. And so I'm excited to see those opportunities from, again, when you talk about C-suite level or board level, all the way down to grassroots and those doing all the work too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another quote. I don't know who it's attributed to, but the quote goes, nothing about us without us. So definitely intend to incorporating people with disabilities into the planning process. I'm going to be pestering my co-chair, who is just an all-star at Special Olympics, and she'll give me some really good ideas too. She's been at her organization for 11 years, fully employed too. So I think she'll be able to give a lot of good ideas and help me think through too. So definitely want to include people who maybe have deep pockets and can help donate, as well as friends and family who don't. And of course,
Yep.
our intellectual disabilities community will need to be a critical part of building it too.
And well together, we jumped into this world of saying we feel like the loudest are really divided right now. However, majority of us are the 90 percenters are right here in the middle saying like, how do we just put food on our table? How do we go have fun together? How do we get to know each other? How do we do life from birth to death as best as we can? I think it's at the right time for there's already enough traction to say, okay, the intellectual disabilities community has more clout than they used to. And that's like a really blunt way to say it. However, when we were growing up, I wish that Unified existed while I was still in high school because it's a beautiful thing, but it
Yeah.
didn't exist. And so I'm like, okay, how cool is that there's an awareness to do that? So then when you're not blazing the trail, however, you're like on the path and then have to blaze some new trails, but like the initial space is there for you to jump in and then create more within it. So I'm excited. That feels like a right time to do so.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And I don't know, every time I talk to somebody about it, they just share, whether it's coworkers or others, about their son or daughter or their family member or their friend who this would help fulfill a need for too. So it's just always been met with a lot of support and enthusiasm too. And I'm really excited as somebody who's been at the same organization for 11 years. I've never taken a big risk to try something new. And this will be a big one, but one that I'm very, very passionate about. And I'm sure my first idea may fall on my face, but we'll have a lot of learnings from it and be able to take those and continue to figure out how to meet that need.
Yeah. Let me tell you, being 35 and doing a podcast for the first time and having this initiative to take off into a movement of wellness and how to human well, so nerve wracking. And what I will say is when people now say to me, "Yeah, listen to your first podcast episode," I'm like, mhm, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I've chosen to say thank you because it's deep gratitude for someone to say, "Hey, Becca, I wanna see you." And it's vulnerable as anything to say, "I'm 35 and starting over, and my first one is really rough compared to my 25th, and my 25th will be very different than my 50th," right? It'll be fun to see what is that space and that arc of growth that you're in when the time comes, and yet what I will say is it is the most fulfilling thing I've done in quite some time because I think that that's what we're designed for, is to take risk, is to play, right? Special Olympics is all about sport and play and teamwork and having fun. And we kind of die on the vine as we get older, I think, unless we choose to put ourselves back into an uncomfortable situation. And it is
Yeah.
so uncomfortable right now. And yet it's also so fun of getting to hear people's stories and offering opportunities for others and then seeing what comes my way too. And so again, cheers to you for saying I'm going to take a sabbatical in a world that doesn't take sabbaticals, especially outside of the religious sector. And then also to say, while I'm doing my sabbatical, yes, it'll be for rest and rejuvenation and exploration, which is so important. And then also saying, and I'm going to build out something and how cool to build and create. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Of course.
Anything else on Special Olympics or intellectual disabilities or sabbatical world?
No, not that I could think of. I'll need a lot of help. So may come on your podcast again to try to get some supporters in the future. But
Yes.
but nothing else comes to mind right now.
Please do. And if it's as fun as Special Olympics, which knowing you, it will be, like just such a good organization and again, fun. That's one of the things that we talk about is in a world right now that feels heavy, how do we continue to create play and sport and fun and bring a little more life into the world? Because it's there. We just need to engage with it. Okay, getting to know you then a little bit. More and more people with intellectual disabilities are getting invites to socialization, to jobs, to whatnot, as we've just discussed. However, one of the goals of Wild and Well Together is to say, when you join this community, you are part of the table. You get to sit and eat with us. There is no hierarchy. We are all around a very, very long table, and we hope to grow it out to millions of long tables. With that, the number one favorite thing that we have is to grub together to share food. So for you, you're coming to this potluck. What are you bringing? What's your go-to meal or your go-to side dish that you want to bring?
I am bringing my mom's famous chicken tortilla soup. So my mom's Hispanic and makes some really, really good Mexican food. And her chicken tortilla soup is very good, especially with these colder winter months approaching us.
Yeah, I'm in my giant cardi. That sounds amazing. Is it spicy or pretty chill
Yeah.
for us gringos?
You can make it pretty spicy. She'll adjust based on who she's feeding, and then as they've gotten older, they can't. My parents can't handle the heat as much as they used to be able to.
That's awesome. Shout out to your mom. Wonderful lady. Tortilla soup. Can't wait to have that. And who you bringing with you?
Staying with the theme of intellectual disabilities, I'm bringing my co-chair of the Young Professionals Board. I won't name her name just for privacy, but she's been an awesome co-leader with me this year, and would love to have her sitting next to me at the table.
I love that. How fun will that be then just to like look down and 5 years from now there'll be hundreds if not thousands and thousands of people with intellectual disabilities having conversations and leading out their own, bringing their own food to share with the group.
And now that I think about it too, when you went to our annual fundraiser, she actually got to sit at the table with us too. So that was a lot of fun with you, some friends, and some family members, and my co-chair.
Yeah, I didn't realize that she was your coach. She's awesome. Here's what I'll say too about her is her excitement is so innately within her to be not a cheerleader in the sense of like woo woo girl, but to genuinely believe in another human and their power Let's get into a few more questions about you and then I'll let you go. I won't keep you in the hot seat too long. So each week, for those of you joining in, we talk about different themes. And this week's theme is being versus becoming. So this idea of who I am now, how do I remain content or how do I value where I'm at? While then also setting goals and saying, hey, I can evolve into the next generation of who I am. So you've talked about professionally. I'm content with who I am enough to say a sabbatical and then I'm going to grow out this new business. What would you say of like where you are as Chris in 2025 and who you hope to be in the next 5 years? Where are you now and what's something that you're excited for that you haven't mentioned yet for future Chris?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a huge planner, and that's part of why I'm excited to take some time to like actually dedicate some timing and investment into some future ideas. I've over the past 5 years in particular, I've tried to find a lot of contentment in the present. When I was in middle school and high school, I was like, oh, by the time I'm 24, I'm going to be married. I'm going to have two kids, two and a half kids, white
Yeah.
picket fence, golden retriever puppy. Gonna love my job. I have a house. I have a job that I love now. Oh, a beautiful dog, Charlotte. She'll probably come down the stairs here any minute. I'm dating, but I'm not married. I don't have any kids, and I'm very very content in life. And I think just having to reframe what success looks like and not putting pressure on different things to happen one way or another has been really healthy for me. Um, and
Okay.
have a lot of positive things. So just kind of reframing what I thought I was becoming into like what I am now and realizing that the journey hasn't probably been what I initially predicted when I was like a kid thinking about like this picture perfect idea of what life would look like. And I hesitate to even predict what the next 5 to 10 years will hold because I'm sure I'll be surprised. I hope to be in good health mentally and physically. I hope to be doing something I'm passionate about, ideally in the intellectual disability space. And I hope to be surrounded by a community that I care for deeply and cares for me too. And as now I am going to strive to find contentment in that too.
I love that. You are so loved along for the journey to see there's different activities or breath work and different things that I can engage with to bring me into the present. What is something for you that you found has worked and or what is something that you found does not work for you? Because that's also important. Where are you coming in with that?
Yeah. Consistency is tough for me. I would say during the pandemic, I struggled like immensely with anxiety, and I still regularly see my therapist now. I think I'm on the other end of it, but I've always struggled with like consistency of doing things, whether that's breath work, whether that's having like a set routine every day. And I've realized I kind of don't like the consistency or like the monotony of having some like waking up at 6 a.m. and doing my breath work right away to start the day. But I do need to try to find more grounded practices. But usually it's just simple things like getting outside. I walk my dog a few times a day. And that helps a lot, just getting some sunshine and some exercise, going to the gym, spending time up in the mountains, and then talking to friends is honestly like the biggest thing that helps relieve stress. A lot of my best friends are not in Colorado, and having the opportunity to just call them up on the phone as I'm on a walk with my dog and catch up has been something that helps me stay grounded and present.
With you calling up your friends, let's go into guys for a second. On Wednesdays, we have He Said, She Said with my one of my best friends since kindergarten. His name is John. And
Mhm.
so we go back and forth on girl take, guy take, feminine, masculine. What is one of your favorite things about calling up a dude, calling up one of your best friends?
Probably how much they roast me. I'll just give them a little view into my life, and regardless of what it is, they'll bring up some story from the past or something that I'm currently doing that maybe I didn't even think of, but just making fun of me. And I'll try to throw it back at them too. But the ability to make fun of each other and have it be done in love, just the ability and kind of that background to be comfortable enough with each other to do that.
That's fun that that's viewed as play, and I think with what you just said at the end of, like, I feel seen and it's stories had, it's history made, right? Like, of the past that's brought back up or of what's currently happening because they know me so well, and so that's what's resonating, like, "Oh, that's why guys will do that. Because when guys do that to each other, I'm like, "I'm out." Like,
Yeah.
I wanna give you your space and yeah, I don't get it. Like, it just is not a part of my nature, and alright, so coffee or tea?
Coffee, but I used to exclusively drink tea, but now I'm full on addicted to caffeine. So coffee regularly, multiple cups per day.
When you're exclusively drinking tea, was it black, green, white?
All of the above. Yeah. Yeah, I was like fascinated with tea for a period of time. It was fun to go to the like Steel Seasonings factory and do the tea tour, and then finding out that like green tea, black tea, all that, unless it's herbal tea, all comes from the same plant. It's just how it's processed too.
Well, there you go. I did not know that. What about this is not rapid fire anymore. Foraging for mushrooms and categorizing them and knowing them, similar to how you just took a fascination to tea. Has that been tabled for a while, or is that something still of your lifestyle of learning about all different mushrooms?
No, I still love it. I do it less. It was kind of a pandemic hobby to get into foraging for culinary mushrooms.
Yes,
But
thank you.
yeah. I'll clarify that. Some people call them concert mushrooms or psychedelics too, but most of my focus was on mushrooms that you can make like a pasta with or something. But it just stemmed out of like a class that I took during the pandemic and had a lot of fun doing it. And I'll look for different edible mushrooms as I go hiking now, but it's probably less of like a I need to go do this or I'm trying to make like some like long term hobby out of it. But it's still fun, super fascinating. There's an endless amount of different species and I think they're doing some cool stuff too. I don't know if this is true or not, but I saw in the Chernobyl area, there's like a fungus that's like feeding on some of the radiation. And I think there's like some cool research being done with like helping to degrade like plastic or other like inorganics that are polluting the world today. There's a lot of stuff that we just don't even know yet that could help us in the future.
So cool. I read Nat Geo once a month. It's something that Nick has given me throughout our marriage as something to wind down, that I get to learn something nerdy. It doesn't have to do with mental health and heavy weighted things, but very cool. Is was on mushrooms and culinary across the board on all mushrooms and the ecosystems. It's the greatest, it's the largest ecosystem or biome that we have. And it was so cool to learn. And that's like the touch that I understand of it. Is just how vast it is. And then talking then on the psychedelic side, man, the growth there, and I'm not an expert in this by any means, but for medical reasons and for mental health specifically, I'm very intrigued in the long run. So that'll be something in 10 years from now that we get to look back and say, like, hey, yes, culinary. And then
Mhm.
also like what has that done for PTSD? What has that done like EMDR and matching it with some other things? But no, talking about culinary for you, I didn't preface that for
No,
listeners.
there is some cool studies done on psychedelic mushrooms too, psilocybin in particular. I think there's a study you can look up where they did, I think there are MRIs of brain wavelengths for people who were sober and then somebody who had taken a psychedelic mushroom, and then like the different parts of the brain that talk to each other while the person is on the psychedelic mushroom is pretty wild. And then I take lion's mane once a morning to try to help with my brain and cognitive functioning too. It's my one fun fact for lion's mane. Now I'm going to sound like Joe Rogan or some bro science guy
Bring it
here,
on.
but lion's mane I think is the only non-psychoactive mushroom that stimulates neurogenesis, meaning like the birth of new cells.
Regrowth. Yeah.
Um, I don't know whether it's placebo or not. I feel like when I take some lion's mane in the morning, I'm a little bit more high functioning and able to focus better at work.
Do you roar in front of your mirror? Like, let's go. Or is it
No.
just like, I'm going
No,
to
I
pop
don't.
it and go?
Yeah, no morning affirmations in front of the mirror, but maybe I'll start to incorporate some of those if I especially on my down days.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's a whole nother thing is like all the various nutrients that are in mushrooms, like not just like, let me eat this mushroom as part of my veggie tray or whatever, but like also, hey, how do I cook with it? Or what's the capsule that I take to sleep better? So,
Yeah,
all
we'll see.
right, hot or cold seasons, which would you prefer?
Ooh, I love skiing and snowboarding, so I'm gonna go cold.
Cold.
But if I'm in Denver, I kinda wish it was, like, warm in Denver and then you go up to the mountains and ski, but, yeah, and I like sunshine, so the dark afternoons are rougher, but still gonna go cold.
Okay. Over under 20 plus days of skiing or snowboarding while you're on sabbatical.
Over for sure.
Okay.
I think the first like month or so, I'm just gonna exclusively ski. I got the opportunity to go skiing in Canada with my brother this last February, and hope to go ski Japan in January. So, gonna try and rally some people to go with me, and then if nobody goes with me, I'll just go make some friends and ski Japan by myself.
So cool. And does your beautiful lady friend, for privacy, that's why I'm not sharing names, does she ski?
She snowboards. Yeah, we haven't snowboarded yet together though. So
I mean, it's been 60, unfortunately, in Colorado in
yeah,
November, so
she's
we just don't.
gotten I think 3 days in already though. But
Good for
yeah,
her.
so we'll see. I
That's awesome. All right, last one. Wild Well or Together. So that's the name of our company, Wild and Well Together. What word describes your season? right now? Wild, well, or together?
I wanna say wild, but I'm not really that wild. I, like, worked from home today and ordered Chipotle delivery. So I wish it was wild, but I think together probably more explains the season that I'm in right now. I just feel a lot of support from my community and my employer and my family in this journey that I'm undertaking. But I'm sure it'll be a wild journey, but right now together is my answer.
I know it's somewhat of a cheesy question, however, it leads to my favorite answers, like what I hear from people. And so I love that because the wildness, I think most of us are like, there's a coolness or like there's something about being wild that feels freeing, that feels exciting. And then when we're honest with ourselves, we're like, where do I fall? So it's awesome that you
Yeah.
don't feel alone in yeah, in the season that is not wild.
Yeah,
And
what's your answer, Becca? Does anybody ask you the question?
no. Oh, thank you for asking that. I've not been asked that back, and I feel caught off guard. This season is wild in the sense that I have a 4.5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and Christmas is epic with children, nieces, nephews, right? Like that's awesome too, just to be around kids. And
Mhm.
so it feels really fun. It also feels wild of like, I have a 4.5-year-old son who just wants to go and do and wrestle. Like, again, talk about boy from a young age. Like, he's just like, let's go, mom. And then comes up and karate chops me. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Also brought me though into a playful season,
Mhm.
which then our daughter, like, sings Let It Go all the time, like on repeat, or sings
Yeah,
whatever song and like thinks she's Tina Turner in other moments and like Taylor Swift in another moment. Like girl could just loves to belt it and it's not on key and that's okay. And so feels a little wild to parent and to lead out a new podcast wellness movement that I'm stoked for. So that's the wildness, but it doesn't feel like a cool wildness. It feels like an untamed, chaotic, stormy wild. And so that's why you're like, I wish I was wild. I viewed it more as like, Chris, we think you're so cool. We think you're like total hip, so awesome. And so that's what I view wild as what I'd want it to be. But the wild that I'm in is more chaotic, more stormy, and yet really fulfilling still too. And then ultimately really well and together. Nick and I are both healthy, which is something that we're very grateful for. And then like you said, the team. We are filled with amazing people around us. And so that's why that the idea behind Wild and Well Together was whether we're like wild or well, the bottom line is that we're together. And so that's where then the name came of how do we remind ourselves that in a world again that feels so divided, left or right, up or down, doesn't matter, that actually we're really together. We just want to put food on the table. We want to get to know each other. We want to live a life as best as we can. I still think YOLO, right? That's a part of the millennial generation is this idea of YOLO. And I think in our 30s now, it's almost like I only live once. And so why not fulfill it? Not to the like high risk, chaos, wild that we maybe would have in our early 20s, but more so to the like, why wouldn't I try and swing for the fences? Why wouldn't I show up for my friends? Why wouldn't I start to take care of my body better than I have for the last 15 years? Some of those things. So, yeah, it's a mix for sure. I think today with you asking me wild, but maybe tomorrow would be more well or maybe more put together. I don't know, but today I'm in a wild, stormy, untamed era.
yeah. And I think parenting is cool. I think people think you're cool too, Becca. I think you're cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take that affirmation and good luck to you. I'm stoked. I mean, we'll talk offline too, but for the listeners, like, please know that we're championing you, Chris, and stoked to see you take a sabbatical to lead the way for our generation in doing that. I know one other friend that we know that took a sabbatical, and then I know another family friend that has, and again, not in the religious sector, but that's 3 people that I know and really racked my brain before getting on here with you of like 3 people that I know out of tens of thousands that have done this. And so cheers to you to saying like, no, again, my mental health, my physical health, my company's wellness is worth it to take this sabbatical and see where it goes. It's an experiment. I mean, you may or may not get what you want out of it, but I so hope that you do. Stoked to have you on here. Let us know when you want to come back on and we'll have you on here again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Becca. I appreciate you and wish you the best of luck at continuing this too. It's cool to see you getting it going.
Yeah, thank you. And listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of Fan Fridays with Chris. Have an awesome weekend and we will see you next week. Cheers.